What historical event is not true, but people still believe in it? We are not amused. There is no evidence. Queen Victoria never said that. Let them eat cake. That quote is miles out of context, missing the quite reasonable question that Marie Antoinette was asking. The cake was actually brioche, a cheaper alternative to bread, and could be made more easily when ingredients for bread were unavailable. Let them eat cake was actually more a case of why not make more brioche instead. A lot of people still believe the phantom time hypothesis, which was a hypothesis proposed by Harry Bert Illig that suggests the period of approximately AD 614 to 911 never actually occurred. Illig thought these years were artificially inserted into the historical timeline by medieval scholars, and events such as the Carolingian dynasty and the reign of Charlemagne were fabrications. This hypothesis had since been debunked. Steve Buscemi was not a firefighter on September 11. He was a member of the New York City Fire Department in the 1980s. After the attacks of September 11, he went and assisted the fire department in the days and weeks afterwards with search and rescue. But he was not actually on duty or anything that day. He had long left the department. Palestinian genocide by Israel. Go ahead. Downvote it. It's only proving that people stupidly believe in it. Edit. I want to apologize for making such statement without showing the following information regarding Gaza's population growth till 2023. The story of the Alamo is full of mythology. Source. You can easily find plenty more sources. Jesus. He is fiction made from 30 Jesuses. Israel has tombs running around at the time, created by the Romans to control the Jews they were at war with. Watch Creating Christ on Tubi for free. I was stunned to learn that there was no evidence that the story about Tito and Stalin was true. It was told in so many till on Reddit that I assumed that it was a historical fact. Apparently not. But he would have said it if he thought of it. People are convinced there was an independent nation named Palestine before Israel. But there hasn't been any independent country or nation in the region before Israel. In the last few hundreds of years it always part of different empires. Let them eat cake. Queen Marie Antoinette most likely never said that. The quote on various versions had been already attributed to other female royalty and various nobles long before the future queen was ruling. Edison did not kill an elephant named Topsy in order to make AC and Tesla look bad. Edison actually had nothing to do with it, and AC was the universal standard for power transmission by the time Topsy was killed. Of course, the moon landing, it's so easy to disprove SMH. I've been getting told stories all my life about the moon landing, but if you pay even an ounce of attention you can figure out that there's no cheese. I find the stories about Gilles de Rios and Elizabeth Bathory quite interesting in this regard. It's not knowable if they happened as told. Were they horrific serial killers, or is it political scheming? The crucifixion of Jesus. There is no historical record of a Jesus of Nazareth being executed by the Romans. The only evidence of Jesus ever existing comes from the New Testament. The idea that Israel offered Palestinians a state in the 90s and Palestinians rejected it. So many people in the West seem to believe in that piece of Israeli propaganda. Vikings did not wear horn helmets. This is a myth made popular in modern times. In reality, wearing a horned helmet would be a huge disadvantage in a fight. The Great Molasses Flood of Boston. In 1919, a storage tank of 2.3 million gallons of molasses dumped into the streets of Boston and killed 21 people. That I believed in Santa. I pretend to believe, because it was a normal thing to do for kids. I always knew from the start that it was bogus. That women are in a better, more stable place now, mentally, than 100 years ago. Or that women by large cared for the right to vote or work. Let them eat cake was not an actual Marie Antoinette quote, and was likely the punchline to a joke someone said about her beheading. The story of Napoleon being exceptionally short is a popular myth. In reality, he was of average height for his time period. That the United States invaded Iraq because Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and was a threat to the world in general. Pyramids. It's definitely future technology, just like in the cartoon. Underneath it's a 100 flying spaceship. The only sources from the Battle of Khorramshab's ever happening are from more than 50 years after it allegedly happened. At 2. Brute. Caesar's last words were never recorded. This line comes from Shakespeare if I'm not mistaken. The Israelites were never slaves in Egypt and the Exodus never happened. No archaeological evidence of such. Prepares for downvotes World War I football match? Or at least hasn't this story been embellished? 1. Hard to tell, as long as you don't have lived at that time. 2. Jesus Christ. Probably the same as the answers from a day ago when this was last asked. Pope Joan was purely an urban legend. There's never been a female pope. Most Russians still think that World War II started in 1941 June 22nd. Go boys! Do or die! It's either 1K of votes are removed.